I know. I'm really nervous and I can't see the comments, but I'm really excited that you guys are here and we're doing a little tutorial on laying the Christmas table. I feel like tutorial is a stretch because I am winging it as we go, but I hope you'll ask questions. And I'm going to have Will help field those. So, all right, let me just straighten this out a little bit so you can really see the table. I'm coming in, I've got the baby on. All right, we're gonna get started. So, welcome guys. All right, the first thing, you can see I've got sort of a mess of like my favorite products on the table. But the first thing that I like to do, and I've been using this like more and more, is just use like a crisp white tablecloth. This one is a linen one from Boutique. It's like one of the best things that I own. I've actually been using it to photograph our ornaments on for the holiday shop, so it's a little messy, but I'm going to wash and press it before Christmas starts. And then one thing that I'm going to do is lay, I'm showing you two options because I couldn't decide before I got on here, but I'm just going to, again, wing it. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the green and yellow combination and then show you guys what the blue and red would look like. But my basic point is like COVID times are strange times. You should do whatever makes you happy. Even if it doesn't feel particularly Christmassy, that's completely fine. You just want to lay something that makes you happy. And we're going to work in layers. So, all right, we'll see how it goes. So I know it's your nap time. I'm going to clear the table and start with, because these are so decorative, these placemats, I'm going to skip a plate and just do a napkin and placemat combination. So here we go. All right. Set these guys aside. Sorry, I should have done this before. Okay. These are the butterfly green placemats. I love them. I'm putting 3 of them out, and then I'm just going to place my glassware. I've got a red wine glass and a white wine glass and a little champagne one for Will and I, hypothetically. We won't give one of those to Rory. So red wine, white wine. And I put them in the upper right-hand side of my table, like above the, like the placemat plate combination. So I'm just going to place these so I get like a rough sense of how much room I have in the middle. So basically, like you want to lay it out like a little map and then fill in as you go. So I'm getting everybody sorted. Depending on how meticulous you are, you might be able to tell that I'm not. You can like get a tape measure. You see those like perfect shots on Instagram from above, that like lineup is really intentional. So you can just sort of get a rough sense of, you want them to be like pretty directly across and the same sort of like inch away from the edge of the table. Okay, so that's that. Then I'm gonna do a fork and knife side, and just again, getting a rough estimate of what this is gonna look like. And then we're going to do the really fun stuff. So someone on the side. So I do, obviously, like fork on the left, knife on the right. And if I put in a spoon, I'm going to add it on like behind the knife. Right now I'm just keeping this really simple. Again, first live. So I'm warming up too. Okay, now that we have sort of the general guidelines of what we're going to have on the table, I'm just going to add in some flowers. I thought about adding in these big paper whites because, like, of course, I really want to use them, but I think that realistically, one thing I really try and keep in mind is I don't want to not be able to see one another across the table. But if you're setting a small table because of, again, COVID, you might consider just, like, putting it on the end and making, like, a really pretty, so lay it low and then make something that's a little higher at the end of the table, and it kind of, especially if you're working on like a big long table and you might feel like it's a little lonely, you can display something really beautiful, and that's where you could like lay out your plates of food. So I think I'm going to work my way down. I might hand off. I might hand you off. If that's okay. Do you mind, Will?
No.
In 1 second.
A question from Barrett about wedding Christmas.
Okay, cool. Oh, Barrett. Mommy. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so the placemats are from Kaspari. We just started stocking them. They're amazing because you can wipe them off. So if you've got little children and stuff, it's a way to like add some special without worrying about stuff being too precious. All right, so I love these. Are from Shop Terrain. They're really delicate but beautiful. And I usually put 2 big tapers on the table, and then I add in lower votives. So my mom taught me all of this, but more importantly, that tall candlelight is more flattering than low candlelight. Low candlelight lights up your chin, and tall candlelight casts down on your face, kind of like when you take a selfie from up to down. It's like the same concept with candlelight. So I recommend having some tall guys in there, and then I'm mixing in these Christmas trees from, I don't know if you guys have seen Rebecca Gardner's holiday shop, but it's amazing, and I love these sparkly Christmas trees. She actually had them on Cortland & Co. last year, but I missed them, and I was so upset. So this year, like the minute that she launched them, I got them. Sorry, they're a little used. But basically, once I get the glass in place, I am going to start placing candles. So I need 1 more tall yellow. I really like, I think like yellow and green is an unexpected play on Christmas. I think like obviously gold and working in those tones is sort of more familiar, but I think that keeping it fresh this year again is fun. And then I love, these are tortoise votive holders. You could also use them for flowers, but these are from Oka US, and I've been using them on almost every table. So let me see. Okay, ooh, this is my favorite part. So, keep saying so. These are surprise balls. They're really fun. Instead of a Christmas cracker, it could be a nice thing to add to the table, something to do, like whether it's, I don't want to say you would like introduce a puzzle necessarily, but games, jokes, Christmas crackers. I like to add candy and candy bowls. I don't have any right now because we've eaten them all, but we're gonna get more. But just like, you know, the other thing, clementines are nice to have on the table, or satsumas, nuts, just like to keep people lingering over conversation. I like to make sure that they like have things to do between courses, and even when it's just Will, Rory, and I think that's when we might make things like a little more dynamic and add in a puzzle or like a child-friendly game. He loves Christmas crackers. Again, we've already opened all of ours. I'm surprised that he hasn't opened these sugar plum balls, but I think it's probably because he hasn't figured out what they are yet. But instead of putting one on each place, I would just choose to like sprinkle them down the table, and they are full of jokes and games and crowns and crystals and things like that. So that is that. I'm gonna move these guys aside. I'm gonna light the candles so we can see where we got to. Let's see. I usually like to use matches when photographing us lighting the candles, but this is what we have on hand. So I need 1 more tall guy and some napkins. Now, something a little less expected. I typically like to put the napkin under the fork in a triangle shape. I'll show you. I'm kind of a weirdo about this. So just like a square napkin folded in half and pressed. I would typically lay it, I hope you can see, but underneath the fork. But because I don't have a plate on the, let's see. I want to make sure that we have, I hope I'm answering questions, which I'm not because I can't see them, but because it's on 2 different feeds, but I will get to them. I will take a quick scroll through after this. So this is my newest napkin fold. Okay, so you take the top corner and then you fold in the sides, and you want it to be like a little thinner on top so it becomes a fan like this. And then I've just been laying this on the placemat or napkin. So I'm going to do this on all of them, and then I'll get their other candle. Again, it's a little haphazard, but I will also disconnect it from the tripod so you can see. I'll put a sugar plum to mark it, and then this way too, like when dinner is ready, you can have it on the counter and have your plates like all stacked up there, and everyone can just sort of help themselves. So these are sprinkled. Okay, another trick. Tea lights. We have these. I sort of accidentally bought these on Amazon, but these ones that have the aluminum bottoms are not as pretty as these clear ones. So the clear ones are a little more, not only are like they more substantial, but if you're going to put them in a literal clear votive holder, then they're not going to be as intrusive, and they're going to last longer. So I try to look for those and like keep them stocked in the house. And let's see where we are. All right. Put one in each of the tortoise shell things. And when in doubt, you can just add candlelight. The other thing that I want to say is because, again, this year is a little different. Instead of going to your local florist, you should feel free to like use stuff from your garden. I was even thinking, like we're in the Northeast now, and basically like everything is dead. But the branches are so beautiful, and they're like covered in moss. And I've been thinking about just trimming some and stringing like battery operated lights and making like a branch arrangement down the table, and maybe like using some gold pen, but just sort of giving myself permission to like step away from peonies, step away from like the typical things I would normally like go to the store to buy, and challenging myself to be super creative with like less resources. The other thing that I was going to use is my family owns a holly farm in Washington State, and so we get huge boxes of garlands, which is amazing, and try and give them to the neighbors and friends as well. But instead of laying a huge garland down the table, one thing that I've discovered that makes it a little bit easier is just literally trimming off tiny bits of this. And I want to show you my ribbon trick too. Okay, I have one more trick up my sleeve. Okay, so you could just cut off little bits of this, and you can like fill it in down the table, and you can make it look like you have a garland lying down, but it won't be nearly as fat or like hard to operate. So you literally just come in and dress the table. Oops. Typically I would have lit the candles after, but I wanted ambiance to be here from the beginning. So you just get this in between. And one thing that I did recently too, which I really thought worked well, is dried oranges. So I dried them in the oven at a really low temperature. I cut them into sort of like 1/4 or 1/8 and dry them at 100 degrees or 200 degrees for, 12 hours. Probably wasn't the best use of energy, but they ended up not curling and looking really good. And you can sort of sprinkle those and dried flowers in and among your garland. And so it looks like you've done this really fancy thing, but really you're just placing. All right, we're getting this now. So my decorative objects are the sparkly plums, sugar plums. That's Rory and Spaggy. We call her Spaggy because she is Letty Spaghetti to us, and that's just been shortened to Spaghettini, which has become Spag, and she thinks Rory is hilarious. So they are keeping each other entertained. And let me see. All right, so I'm just going to come in. You can place your votives on top, but just to give you an idea, obviously I would need to like make sure that there's none of this on the placemat itself, and start to move stuff out of the way. But it just gives you like so much coverage and it's pretty much available anywhere. You can use like even parts of your Christmas tree. Just like really simple at-home tricks. Now, one thing that I also like never do is use napkin rings, but I love this ribbon from Midori, and I've been trying to figure out how to use it because I just easily stare at it and think it's really pretty. But I think that one thing you could do too is use big bows around your napkins instead of holding them like this. Let's go the long way. I have to figure this out too because there's like a little monogram, but you want them to pinch, and you could do a big bow. So I'm gonna again get the camera off the tripod, see if there are any questions, and then let me. Will you see if there are any questions on that one? Oh, thanks, Chad. Oh, they're from Rebecca Gardner's holiday shop. I hope she still has them left because I haven't been able to find them anywhere else, but they are so awesome. Oh, it's called Houses and Parties. She changed the name this year. They're my favorite. She thinks they're really tacky. I think they're so cool. And I've been coveting them since last year. So those are, okay, so here's one napkin. I might straighten that out a little, and then you have got the other folded one. So you have two options, but it's a really fun, I might try and show you guys. That's okay. I'm just gonna bring this one in. You can see mess behind, but you've got one kind, and then you've got the other kind there. And it's basically just like messing around and creating really pretty layers with things that you love, and then just making sure that everything is like really sparkly clean. So it's not about like buying all new things, but just like polishing up your silver, polishing up your glasses, so everything feels like fresh and festive, the way that we get dressed for dinner. Okay, so let me clear all of this off, and then I'm going to make that big thing that we talked about. Is there? Oh yeah, there is. This is the prettiest ribbon, which makes it really a lot easier to make a big bow. So there's wire around the edges. And this is a little sparkly wreath from the White Company. And I've been using it instead of on the wall as like something to put a cake stand in to make it all shiny and beautiful. But you could also use it, for example, I'm going to see if it will go around the paperweights here on the edge. Let me see. And make a sparkly situation over here. And I'll make sure you guys can see it. But yeah, that fits perfectly. So it might be a little over the top, but when in Rome, it's Christmas time. And I want to make sure, Chad, can you see it? There we go. Cool. So instead of putting your big piece, again, we're going to move up the table and make it really big and pretty on the end. And this is when you could add in even like a couple more candle tapers. So I love etched glassware, and I collect it from auctions and estate sales. And these hurricanes are my favorite. I'm working on finding some for the store because I hoarded these ones for myself, but they've been used so many times, it wouldn't be fair. So I'm going to put more candlelight because when in doubt, that definitely like adds just so much romance. And I love, I'm going to fit in here. So obviously, I don't know if you guys know this one, but when they don't fit, I just drip the wax a little bit and then they'll stick at the bottom. But have you guys heard of Matilda Gode? I've been following her since 2017. She's also a really good one to follow. She's got these beeswax candles that are so pretty. They're like scallop, beautiful. They're a little thicker, so they don't necessarily fit in every taper situation, but I find that if you drip the wax on, it usually stays. So, well, fingers crossed. we'll see. And then there was one more thing. Oh, another great way, especially with like a winter table, I always put pillows on the back of the chair and also blankets, because I like to linger and like stay cozy at the table. We did this for Thanksgiving. We set it in the barn. It was really cold, so obviously that was a great occasion for that. But also, like, if you're doing something different, like sitting fireside or even just at a table like this, I would choose to put a chair in with a blanket on the back. Let me see if I can find one. And a big pillow. So there we go. Make it really cozy. And I would typically drape a blanket here. And it just makes it like extra inviting and fun for everybody to feel cozy. So one more of these. We're getting there now. Oh, the other thing that I did is just trimmed off a couple paper whites. If there was room for them at the table, I was going to put them there. It looks a little tight, to be honest. But this is from Mrs. Alice's shop. So I'll just throw this one in here, and then I'll add in another candle. Other fun things. You can use ornaments down the table if you've got some favorites. Again, like bowls of nuts and fruit. Just like do something really neutral. I know this is like, if you're a neutral person, this is a little OTT, but I like more is more. And I'm just trying to think of other like favorite things that I adore. But obviously flowers whenever that's a possibility. But garlands, dried fruit. I mean, sometimes even like for Valentine's Day, I've used like seashells mixed in with really pretty flowers. Obviously, it depends on where you are this Christmas. Oops. Oh, good. That's a really good question. Let me cancel this phone call that's coming in for this one. All right, so, okay, we're back. So for non-COVID times, if I were setting the table like with a large group, I would build the focus in the center and then sprinkle out. So I would never put something this tall between place settings, but I would find a way to like put it between two more that were coming here and there. I will say that it's nice not to feel like the table's too divided. Like the whole point of setting the table is to like encourage conversation. So I actually prefer narrower, tighter setups so that you're like really jammed in shoulder to shoulder with people, and so that larger groups can speak. So you can have like a 6-way conversation rather than like, what if you get stuck with someone next to you? I want that you don't like know, you just like finding a way to like make the group big and accessible so that it's like big group fun versus being too like isolated in your own little world. So one thing that I used to do often and will do again is set a table with tall things and then move it to a sideboard where I put the food once people are starting to sit down. And I know that sounds like extra work, but I think it's really amazing to make people feel like wowed, and then make it so that they feel like loved and welcome, and then make it really accessible to chat throughout and like put, other plates of food and stuff on the table by moving things aside. So that's probably what I would do in that situation. But I think, again, like this is a great setup for a smaller, say you have 6 people or 3 people or 2 people, just like adding some height off to the side makes it feel like a little bit more complete, if that makes sense. Okay, no, that's a really good question. I know I'm using scented flowers on the table right now. It's honestly mostly because that's what we had around, and I love paper whites. But I'm a big proponent in non-scented candles on the table. I think you don't want to interfere with like a food and wine experience. So the more neutral you can be, the better. And also, like, overall, I prefer the sizes of tiny votives and then tall candlesticks versus thicker pillars. I just saw some hearts coming out of the screen and I thought it was smoke. I thought that maybe one of my candle experiments hadn't gone that well. But typically, so I would just like opt for different color tapers. The other thing right now is like there's a huge trend towards, like candles like this or like twisty ones or ones I can't get my hands on because they sell out typically like painted candles. But you can create that effect really easily by just getting like plain neutral colored tapers. Like you can create that sort of like trendy effect. Like these Matilda Gold ones I love them so much and I treasure them, but I almost love them so much that I find it like scary to use them because I only have one set. And so like you can create the same effect with plain neutral hurricanes, which I will find a link to, which are $12 and a colored taper, in my opinion. Chad, are there any more questions? Ooh, that's a great question. Honestly, I get a lot on Etsy and eBay. And then there's an app called Live Auctioneers, and it's estate sales. So you can keep an eye on like things that you adore. But we found most of our tabletop for our wedding, and I started to collect them and sell them in the store on eBay and Etsy. So we had these like small, delicate candle lamps that were like at the time that we found them really inexpensive. Now they really are a little bit more expensive, but they're so beautiful and delicate. And I've been using them on our tables until every single one broke. But because they're not overly precious. So I would say Live Auctioneers, Etsy, eBay, and then if you have access to any local estate sales, even like Goodwill and secondhand shops are fabulous as well. But we do a lot of collecting. And then some brands that feel collected but have more than that. One of the ones I adore right now is Oka US. I feel like everything that they produce is a really solid price point, and it feels like something that you found at a flea market, but it's like you can get 15 of them. So I recommend them very highly. Chad? Okay, of course. Thank you so much for asking questions. Okay, 3 tabletop items that I can't live without. Candlelight. Um, for me, fabric napkins are a must. I'm a really big weirdo about paper napkins. I just don't like the texture. It's a personal thing. It's not even like a snobby thing. It doesn't agree with me. So we pretty much always use cloth napkins. And then one thing that I always look for in my glassware is thin rims. I think that the taste and flavor of wines and drinks coming out of them are better. So I love these ones. They're from Host Home in London. They have the most delicate rim, which means that most of them broke in the mail on the way here. But it was worth it because we got like a lovely little set of them. And they're probably the one that I use the most. So candlelight, cloth napkins, and thin rimmed glasses are my like 3 top things. And then search terms that I use when looking for tabletop items. I look for etched glassware. I look for silver and silver plated collections. I like to look for full sets of things. I try not to get anything that's chipped around the edges. So like pristine, immaculate, etched glassware, vintage. I'm trying to think of what else, like hurricanes, napkin sets. I look for scallop. So one thing too that I will note is that I really like larger napkins. This is sort of the smallest I would go. It's a 19 by 19, and I like them to be like full lap napkins. This does fit across my lap. Just testing it out. But I would say like I prefer that to a smaller napkin. So I look for like English, French, Moroccan pottery, Spanish pottery. I just sort of keep my eye in. My carts are always full. And then I just buy what I absolutely cannot stop thinking about. And it's really fun to do the auctions on eBay and Live Auctioneers. That app is amazing. My mom turned me onto it, and we're both hooked. So that's a really, really good resource for everybody. And then in terms of like fun little things, like Christmas crackers, etc., you can get a lot of that stuff on Amazon, to be totally honest. But also like houses and parties, we have these sugar plum balls. Kaspari and like Paper Source have a lot of crackers, and like that. So just looking for ones that will fill in the space and like add some element of surprise, I think is a really good sort of like festive, elevates from your typical dinner at home to make it special for the holidays. So those are like my favorite things. For the most part, I feel like I can't see the question, so I might scan through on my one. I feel like, oh, God, you're my hero. Thank you. Okay, that's a really good one. So I don't use chargers that often. I think I associate them, to be totally honest, with like events, like weddings, pretty much weddings is what I'm referring to. So I would say that for the most part, I use placemats every day. Having said that, I do have some rattan chargers that I really like here. I'm going to show you some of my favorites. So these ones are great, neutral everyday ones. Those are from Oka. And then these Juliska ones are really special holiday, thin, lacy, beautiful ones. I usually pull these out every Christmas, but I was excited to do something new this year because I feel like I've been using the same stuff for the last couple of years, and I really like these Kaspari ones. And then William and Wayne is a great store in New York City. They don't have a great online, but next time you're in New York, I hope one day soon, they have an amazing selection of placemats and everything. So if I'm laying down a tablecloth, I pretty much always use a placemat. I was gonna say, like, I don't always use a tablecloth, but I always use a placemat when I'm setting the table. I just think it like adds a nice little separation from what's underneath. That is technically what it does. But I love them. So definitely placemat. Ooh, I am really into colored glass right now. I would say most of what we own is clear, but mixing in, for example, I have like little water glasses that are colored, and I really like those. And I am jumping on the colored glass train hard, but it's just hard just to sometimes decide which one that you want. But I'm a fan of both. I would say like probably I would do like a clear and then a smaller color, or not mix like too many colors of glass on the table. So get a set that really go with like most of the things that you own, like a blush or an amber or a green. I guess green isn't like as neutral, but like a brownie tone is usually a great neutral that will span across multiple setups, if that makes sense, which I hope it does. Okay, that's a great question. We have not worked out our holiday menu, but I did a cocktail video with my friend Brooks Cooks the other day, and he taught me how to make a cocktail because we drink almost exclusively wine. And it was so good that I actually like drank an entire whiskey. So I would highly recommend checking that out. But basically, his rule of thumb is it's like 2 parts, 3 parts alcohol, and then 3 parts mixer. And so it's like the mixer. Sorry, I'm gonna mess this up and like ruin it. But it's like 1.5 of a sweet thing and then 1.5 of a citrus. So for example, like we use a honey syrup and then a citrus, and then half of it would be the whiskey or whatever you're using, like rum or tequila. And it's mind blowing. We actually like made cocktails for a couple of days after that because they were so good. And then we didn't feel so good. so we stopped. But definitely that for Christmas. And then for menus, we haven't even like thought about it because we've been so busy with the Christmas shop. But I will say one thing that we like never go without during the day is smoked salmon and champagne. So like on a thick crusty bread, I love thin smoked salmon. So toast it with a little bit of butter, lay the smoked salmon down, lemon and salt, and then drink champagne with that. And it's great for unwrapping presents and like keeping, as Will would say, the wolf from the door, like your hunger levels in check until the big sort of dinner. And then typically we would make like a big salad, and like we've been making like a chicken pot pie kind of thing at the holidays at Christmas, because it's been just the three of us actually for the last couple years because of like different events. And then like mashed potatoes and roasty potatoes and things like that. So anything hearty and local would be my choice. But don't miss the smoked salmon. It's the best. It's so good. Okay, I think I just sent yours out today. Yes, I'm trying to get everybody's. That's why I'm so tired. So I'm trying. First of all, I want to say like thank you so much for the support on the shop. It has blown our minds. It's been amazing. We've been up packing like Christmas elves for the last like several nights in hopes to get everything out to everybody before Christmas, even the people who ordered today. So we've upgraded everybody behind the scenes to like 2-day shipping. We're monitoring it hard. There are a couple things stuck in customs in England, but I hope that doesn't apply to most of you. So we're working on it very much so. We want everybody to have everything from the shop for Christmas, especially like these surprise balls and stuff. And I have to say UPS is doing a phenomenal job. So it should be good. Thank you for asking, and thank you for ordering. And then like if you like any of these things, we have colored tapers, we have placemats, and we have surprise balls. I think we're pretty much sold out of all of the vintage things, but, I meant to bring these in. So these are etched glass, but they're from Shop Terrain. And I would say that right now for glassware at like a really affordable price point, but still really special and great, Shop Terrain, Anthropology in my view is like on fire right now. They're doing a great job. It's like as good as it has been since the 90s. And William Sonoma has my favorite etched glassware line. So I don't have it here because we're in the middle of moving, but I love their floral collection. So I would recommend looking at those. And I can link to them in the story after this too, so that everybody can see. Chad, are there any more questions? Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that, guys. I want to show you before I sign off. I want to thank everybody for coming on. I'm sorry if I seem nervous. It's like hard when I can't see your questions, but I'm really grateful that you came on. And I want to show you too, just like a totally different direction. So this is what I would call green and yellow, but you could also do a blue with a white and then use like a red ribbon, and it would swap out really well with everything on the table. It would go well with a sugar plum, paper whites, and the pink candlesticks or silver or dark green. So basically, I think play with it. We've had, we launched a Thanksgiving guide before Thanksgiving, and we had a lot of people send us their tables, which I loved, and we could like give little feedback on what we would do next. So please, if you would like any help with your Christmas table, I would love to offer it. It's my absolute favorite thing in the whole world. So don't hesitate to like DM or email, and we can help everybody set their dream table if that is of interest. We would love to do that. So don't hesitate, please. And thank you. Chad, you too. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to do a quick story of everything that so you can see it up close rather than moving the camera, and then you can get a full view of what it looks like from my perspective, because I know it's like a little harder from there. But good. Okay, thank you guys so much. I'm signing off for now.